Do you feel hyperactive, energetic, and full of the joys of life one minute, and the very next minute you're in this deep, deep, dark hole, surrounded by darkness and this spiritual depression? This could be that you're going through a spiritual awakening. Now, I'm not a medical professional, but I have likened my spiritual awakening to that of bipolar. Very high highs and very low lows. In this video, I'll explain some of my symptoms, and hopefully it will help you to understand if you're going through the same thing. My name is Angela Cleary, and I'm a feminine empowerment coach, and I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse. So with spiritual awakening, we are going through this in-depth healing process. We are uncovering the deepest parts of ourselves. We're uncovering trauma from this life and past lives. We're uncovering karma from this life and past lives. Now, through this, we are becoming the best version of ourselves. But there's so many symptoms throughout this awakening journey that can be quite frightening. And I have likened it to bipolar because one minute I could be crying hysterically for no reason, and I mean hysterically, and then the next minute I'm dancing around the kitchen, singing away to myself. And I remember years ago when I started going through my awakening, my friends said something to me, and I was like, imagine if I went to the doctors and told them what I was going through. They would diagnose me with something and put me into a pallet cell and pump me full of drugs. Now, I believe, this is my personal opinion, that any kind of mental health issue is because our soul is out of alignment. We don't get depression and anxiety if we're living in alignment with our soul. But because of generations of us being forced to suppress our spirituality, because of generations of people calling us crazy for being psychic or for having any kind of spiritual abilities, we all have spiritual abilities. We are all souls. We're all spiritual beings living a human experience. So for generations, we've been led to suppress this. Religion was created to put fear in the people and to drive them away from their actual spirituality. So anytime, when it comes to meditation or any kind of spiritual abilities, we are deemed crazy. And I believe bipolar was a term created to label humans as crazy because they were seeing or hearing things that were different. I've read before that shamans believe that schizophrenia is actually because people are connected to the cosmos, to their higher power. Because they've gone to the doctor saying, I can hear voices, they're like, oh, give you some drugs, lock you up, there you go. Whereas in actual fact, this could be actually their connection to their higher power. So I believe any kind of depression, I suffered from depression and anxiety when I was younger. And obviously that was due to childhood trauma, but I do believe it's because we're living out of accordance with what we should be living. We're living out of accordance and out of alignment with our souls. And when it comes to spiritual awakening, when we actually wake the fuck up to who we truly are and where we truly come from and why we're here on this planet, it can be a very, very messy ride. It is a roller coaster of emotions. It's a spiral. It is an actual spiral. There is back, forth, sideways, backwards. Oh, Jesus, it's crazy. You know what I mean? And there is times throughout the spiritual journey that you will question your sanity. And, you could be tempted to go to seek medical help. And, I'm not saying don't do that. As I said, I'm not a medical professional, but this is my journey. And this is what I believe my journey and my spiritual symptoms are very similar to bipolar. Because one minute you are high as fuck. You're so happy. You're so energetic. You're so full of the joys of life. You've got your goals all set ahead of you. You become creative. You just full of, hope and aspirations for the future. And in a split second, you're down in that dark night of the soul. And that's what the low part is dark night of the soul. This deep spiritual depression that we go through. And it's worse than any depression I have suffered. I used to be on antidepressants, and I used to be on, anxiety medication when I was in my 20s. It never worked. And actually the only thing to actually stop me from taking any medication was meditation, was connecting with what was within me to heal. my spiritual awakening actually helped me to get off medication and to find the truth within me and understand that once we fix what's internal, our souls, our minds, our bodies, we can fix what's going on, externally as well. But the depression, the spiritual depression we go through, the dark night of the soul we go through, it's worse than any depression I ever suffered back years ago. And it can be very hard not to seek out for professional help because you do think you're going crazy and you feel like you're actually in this depressive state, but it spirals. It's up and down. It's a roller coaster. There's no straight line. 1 minute you're high, and that's the thing. When you're actually in the depths of your spiritual awakening, it's very up and down. It's very bipolar. It depends on obviously how much you need to heal. But usually when you're in the depths of it, it is very, very intense. And as I said, I have been hysterically crying 1 minute over something I don't even understand why I'm crying. And then the next minute I'm dancing around the place happy as a pig in shit. Do you know what I mean? So it's crazy. And when you're in the depths of a spiritual awakening as well, when you're on that high, you're like, oh, thank God that dark night of the soul is over. But it won't stop until you're kind of out the other end. And I've been spiritually awakening since 2018. And it was kind of long drawn out few years for me, and it was up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then it kind of went a little bit quiet as there was less downs in a sense, or the downs lasted a shorter time. So the more you heal, the downs do get shorter. The dark nights of the soul do get shorter. Now I went through a heart awakening again lately. You can go through more than one spiritual awakening, and I've gone through a couple of heart awakenings, and I'm still kind of coming out of a heart awakening now. But the dark night of the soul last time for me was probably one of the worst I've been in, because you kind of know you're in it, but the more you heal, the more you understand it. But it doesn't make it any easier. But I'm going to read a couple of definitions here, or the definition of a manic state of bipolar. Because when I first read this, right, I actually was like, this is the definition for spiritually awakening. You know what I mean? It really was, and I was just like, this is what I'm going through. But and I've seen this before as well. I've heard of people being diagnosed with bipolar and then realizing they're in a spiritual awakening and going off their medication because they've realized that it was a false diagnosis. That they're actually only going through a spiritual awakening, and the only way to heal that is to do your inner work, to face your darkness. That's the only way that you're going to heal your soul. Medication won't work. And I was even reading up on bipolar earlier on just to I wanted to get that definition, but there was a little bit there. It's some manic states of bipolar can't be treated by medication, and the way I see that is it's because it's your soul screaming at you to do the inner work. And a lot of symptoms through spiritual awakening, there's a lot of physical symptoms as our chakras come into alignment. That's our internal energy centers. So we will get a lot of physical symptoms throughout this journey, and sometimes medication will not work, and this is because we're going through this ascension journey. And this is because the only way to heal what's going on is by healing what is internal. And with the chakras especially, whatever chakra it is, it represents a certain part of our inner selves. So we have to work on that part of ourselves to heal the external symptoms. And that's the only way it will work. It's not going to go away with medication. And I'll keep saying I'm not a medical professional, so please don't, if you feel like you need to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. I'm not telling you not to go to the doctor. I'm just saying if any of these are similar, any of the symptoms I've gone through are similar to yours, you may be going through a spiritual awakening. So I'm going to read the definition of a manic phase of bipolar. And this to me blew my mind because I was like, oh, this is definitely spiritual awakening. In the manic phase of bipolar, it's common to experience feelings of heightened energy, creativity, and euphoria. You may talk a mile a minute, sleep very little, be hyperactive. You may also feel like you're all-powerful, invincible, and destined for greatness. Now, in fairness, when you go through awakening, your creativity opens up. You start to feel, that's the thing as well with awakening, the euphoria state. You start to feel so alive within yourself that you don't need drugs or any kind of alcohol or substances to feel good anymore, because you're healing that inner state. So therefore you are the drug, and your whole being becomes hyperactive. It becomes euphoric, because you're starting to see life in color, and you're starting to see life for what it really is. You're starting to see the truth within your soul and the truth within this universe. Sleeping very little. One of the biggest symptoms of spiritual awakening is insomnia. And years ago when I had depression, it would take me hours to fall asleep. But because I used to drink, once I did fall asleep, I'd be gone to the world. But throughout my spiritual awakening journey, I've gone through bouts of insomnia. And it's crazy. The ones I've had lately is you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you just cannot get back to sleep. There's times I have to, just get up and watch telly or something. But insomnia is a big one. That's another symptom. But the whole destined for greatness thing, we are all destined for greatness. We are on this planet for a higher purpose. As I said, we're spiritual beings living a human experience, but we're here for a divine mission. Do you know what I mean? And call me crazy if you want, but this is fact. What bugs me about this world is that people will look at me and call me crazy. But people will look at us spiritual awakening people, us light workers, us starseeds, and say that we're crazy. We're the ones living the truth, living in this matrix, in this bubble, this brainwashed society. That's the fucking lie. That's crazy. If you want to tell me that there's nothing beyond this universe and that we're the only things here and that we're living here to be monkeys or fucking slaves to the system, that's crazy. And I don't care if you think I'm crazy, because being called crazy by a world that is still conditioned is actually a compliment. Because anything the conditioned and brainwashed world sees as different, sees as outside the box, sees as not the norm, is deemed as crazy. So therefore, I'm happy to be called crazy, because I do not want to be normal, because to me that is crazy. Do you know? I used to say there's no such thing as normal in this world, and who's to say, that I'm not the normal one and all of the conditioned people are the crazy ones, because that's what I believe. And people have likened my spiritual awakening to a cult of some kind. The truth is within our souls. We are spiritual beings living a human experience. So I'm going off topic here, but Jesus, we are going through a mass awakening on this planet because we're starting to discover the truth. But as I said, with this awakening, there is that bipolar effect. Now, I'm going to read a couple of the side effects of bipolar that are in the depressive state. And these are actually symptoms of spiritual awakening as well. Feeling hopeless, sad, and empty. When you're in dark night of the soul, it is darker than any depression that I've ever experienced before. It is the deepest spiritual depression you will ever go through. And that's why the last dark night of the soul I went through was the worst. Because when I first started going through dark night of the soul, it was hard. But I knew that it was for a higher purpose. I knew that there was a spiritual reason I was going through all this hard work, right? But the last dark night of the soul I went through it's only a few weeks ago, or last week. It's only the last few weeks. Because I'm so much more healed than I used to be. When I was in this one, I was more, it was the darkest one, because a part of me just didn't want to come out of it. And that broke my heart, because, I'm awakened enough to know now each dark night of the soul has purpose. But this time I just felt so hopeless that I was like, do I want to move forward? I just want to stay in my bubble. There's no hope. And that's what it is. When you're in this, no matter how healed you are on this journey, the dark night of the soul is so, so dark. And, as I said, feeling hopeless, sad and empty, and like there's no way out. Irritability. That's the triggered part. And that's one thing I go through when I'm fucking on the dark night of the soul, is the triggers. I am triggered by everything. I get ratty for no reason, and I'm just really, really irritable, really angry all the time. And it's just, I hate it. But that's another sign of spiritual awakening, but also has been likened to bipolar. The inability to experience pleasure. So, like, in fairness, like, you're going around in this dark night of the soul and you just don't want to do anything. And, like, you know, even when I'm, like, I'd watch comedies just to uplift myself. And sometimes I can't even concentrate on them when I'm in dark night of the soul. Sometimes I just can't, just nothing can bring me out of it. And that's the hard part of it. Fatigue and lethargy. So, yeah, like, when you're in the depths of that as well, it's like you're so tired. You see, we're doing spiritual work in our dreams, and we're doing work on the 5D. Our soul is doing work on the 5D when we sleep. So therefore, there are nights that you will think you've had a restful sleep, but you will wake up, you could have 8 or 9 hours sleep, and you could wake up feeling like you've only had 1 hour sleep. That is, and maybe sleep through your alarms as well and sleep later than normal. You know, this is because your soul is doing extra work in the astral plane. So we're constantly, on the spiritual journey, we're constantly doing this work. So our bodies are going to feel more drained and tired. We're going to get these extra physical symptoms. You have to mind yourself and be aware of this, that extra tiredness is because of your soul doing the extra work on the 5D. So physical and mental sluggishness. Like, this is what I call the meh energy. Like, you just don't feel like doing anything. You just, oh my God, like, you know, you just, you're kind of just in this cloud and you just don't want to move. You don't have the energy to do anything. You don't feel like doing anything. Nothing brings you alive. You're just like, oh, just why? And you just kind of start questioning everything in your life as well. And all that lack mentality comes in and all that fear comes in, and you're just like, you just have no will to move forward. This is all temporary as well. So your appetite changes. Throughout your spiritual awakening, your appetite will change anyway, because your body changes frequency. So therefore, what you once were able to tolerate, you can't tolerate anymore. Like, I remember reading when I first started my awakening, I read a load of these symptoms and I read a load of these things that would change. It's like, you won't do drugs anymore, you won't drink alcohol, you might become vegetarian, you might change, you know, you might change friend circles and all this, or walk away from family members. I was like, no, I'll always drink, I'll always take drugs. Steak is my favorite food. I'll never be a vegetarian, and you know, I love my family and friends, like I still love my family and friends, but because your frequency changes, you can no longer tolerate the negative energy around those people. I'm vegan now, which is like, thought that would never happen, and I don't drink and I don't take drugs or I don't take any substances anymore because I am happy within myself. I don't take any medications either. So all of this kind of things will change because your body is changing frequency, because this is you're coming into the true version of yourself. What we tolerated before was based on our conditioned version, our brainwashed version, our ego-based old version. Negative, fear, greed, all that stuff that was brainwashed into us. And our bodies, and we were feeding our bodies with junk. And that's another thing, I don't eat sugar anymore, because we were feeding our bodies with shit, our junk and everything. And this was lowering our consciousness as well. Alcohol lowers your consciousness. Alcohol disconnects you from your soul. The reason I gave up alcohol was because I had no control over my brain because of it, and I was disconnected from my soul. And that's the reason I don't drink, and I'll never drink again, is because I want full power of my brain and I want to be connected to my soul. So sleep problems, as I mentioned already, insomnia is a massive, massive thing throughout your spiritual awakening. Also, as I said, you can be actually oversleeping, the opposite of the insomnia, and you can feel so tired, like you actually weren't sleeping at all. And that's the thing. And your dreams will be heightened as well, because your dreams that's when you're actively doing stuff as well in the 5D. So understand that if you're oversleeping or undersleeping, or your sleep patterns are all over the place, this could be your spiritual awakening as well. So concentration and memory problems. Like I've noticed actually throughout the spiritual journey as well, at the start especially, you could be, like when you're going through the in-depth healing internally, you can actually become very forgetful. Like, you know, and like this is only brief phases as well, that you could be like, Jesus, how did I forget that? Or you know, you'd be kind of wondering how you're forgetting stuff, but my memory's going. No, what I was actually doing is because we're actually bringing back in all the truth, and we need room for all this new memory that we're re-remembering. It's pushing out old, obsolete stuff that we no longer need. So like, you know, stuff that doesn't matter kind of thing. So it might feel like we're losing memory, but we're actually making room for the higher power memory to come in, for the re-remembering of where we came from. So don't be worrying if, like, you know, you might think that, Jesus, that you're forgetting stuff. This is temporary as well. You know, what I found as well as spiritual, with the depths of it, you can get very clumsy. You know, dropping things a lot, bumping into things, stuff like that. It's like your body is rewiring itself, and it's like for an instant it forgets what to do. I found this very, very much so at the start of my journey. But back to feeling hopeless, guilt, worthlessness, shame, kind of all those kind of symptoms. The highs are very, very high, and I mean the highs are higher than everything, that euphoric state. And then the lows come in, and they're the lowest of lows of lows. And it's brief. Both times it's brief. As I said, the dark night of the soul will last as long as you need to heal, but the ups and downs can be very, 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 very quick, very, very quick up and down. As I said, 1 minute you're crying, the next minute you're laughing. Now, as I've said before, these are actual symptoms of bipolar, but these are also symptoms of spiritual awakening. Now, as I said, I'm not a medical professional, so, you know, do what you need to do for you. Seek professional help if that's what you feel you need to do. But ask yourself, is it because you're living out of alignment with your soul? Are you going through this manic depression, this heightened creativity, this heightened awareness, and then these low lows, because you're going through a spiritual awakening, because you're waking up to the truth within your soul, because you're waking up to the truth within this world? That's the thing. And, like, you know, and I know this myself. Like, I know that I have gone through a spiritual awakening. I call it bipolar because the bipolar affects the spiritual awakening, because that's the way I've gone through it. The high highs and the dark night of the soul. The high highs, the dark night of the soul. And it is up and down. And that's the thing, you know, when you're going through it and you're in the depths of it, you know, you get out of the dark night of the soul and you're like, yes, I'm fucking free, and you're feeling so hyperactive, you're feeling that euphoria, and then boom, you're straight back down again until you finish that healing. The only way to get through this is by facing your darkness, is by facing your demons, and by healing them. And that's the thing, like, I drank alcohol to drown my demons. I drank alcohol to stop thinking. I drank alcohol so that I wouldn't be able to feel the pain that I used to experience, or that, you know, my memories from my past. But now that I've healed my demons, now that I've tamed my inner turmoil, and I've healed that darkness, I don't need to drink anymore. You know, I don't need to take drugs anymore, because I am happy with where my life is going now. I am living in alignment with my soul. And obviously I went through another awakening lately for my heart awakening, and, you know, I went through that dark night of the soul again. But that's because I had more to heal. Do you know, and, like, that's why I'm grateful for the lows, because the triggers will teach us what we need to heal next. But understand, you're not going crazy. And that's the thing with the bipolar effect, is that you do think you're going crazy. And, like, some people do go to the doctor and check it out, like, you know, and that's fine. But I believe a lot of mental health issues are due to living out of alignment with your soul. And if you go and get medication, this will just disconnect you from your soul even more. Now, therapy is great. If you want to go to therapy, that would be great. But you see, then, you know, get the therapist that suits you. Or what I find extremely helpful is seeking online communities that are going through the same thing, the spiritual awakening as well. Because it's better to get advice from somebody going through a spiritual awakening as well than get advice from a 3D person, you know, or, you know, a doctor of that's not going through it, a medical person. Now, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying ask yourself, look within yourself and ask yourself, is there a way you can heal yourself from within? Are you going through a spiritual awakening? Because I find as well, we have the power within us to heal ourselves. With our chakra centers, we can tell which part of our body is out of alignment, and we can heal that part of ourselves from within. Meditation is my biggest healer. I believe that meditation is the best medicine that we will ever have. It is the only medicine that we have that has no side effect, and it heals you from within. And I've done this. I've reprogrammed my subconscious mind with meditation. I've healed ailments in my body because it hasn't been anything physical. For example, like when I go through a heart awakening, or if I go through heart symptoms, when my heart chakra is blocked, I could get chest pains, and I especially get pains in my backs of my shoulders from my higher heart. And like, I could be trying to get rest for the whole week, trying to, think that like it's a pulled muscle, and it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away until I do heart chakra meditation or look within myself to figure out why my heart chakra is blocked. And almost instantly when I do the inner work, the pain goes away. I used to have a lot of tummy issues. This was to do with my root chakra and my solar plexus being out of alignment. I used to have a lot of sacral issues as well. But the more I healed internally, the more these issues stopped. And as well as that, obviously you change your diet as well when you're on a spiritual awakening, so you're eating healthier as well, so your body becomes healthier. But when it comes to your third eye and your crown chakra, this is where you can get headaches, you can get blurred vision, and working on those parts of yourself with meditation can really help. Your throat chakra is a big one as well, so any teeth problems or your throat acting up would be to do with communication and your blocks around here. So be mindful of what area of your body you might feel like out of alignment as well. So understand that there is other symptoms that you can go through physically on your spiritual journey as well. So ask yourself, is there a way, like, because I've heard as well of people going to the doctor with these symptoms and having no medical help there because the medicine doesn't work, because it's an internal thing. As I said, I'm not a medical professional. Don't quote me on this stuff. Like, this is my experience. If you need to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. My experience throughout this journey has proven to me that it has been my chakra system, it has been my internal system, it has been spiritual awakening, and this is what I have done to heal it, is look within myself, tame my demons, understand my darkness, and discover my light. And that's how I have gotten through my bipolar effects of spiritual awakening. So if any of this is similar to you, look within yourself and look for like-minded communities that can help you on your journey. And I hope this video helps, because I know how we can all feel a little bit crazy on this journey. So thank you so much for listening today, and I do hope this resonates. If it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you'd like help on your journey, please book me for a discovery call today, and I would love nothing more than to help you on your path. Thanks again. Bye-bye.